obviously I had a chance to be here in the mid-'90s with Coach Alvarez as his graduate assistant, so I kind of hit the lottery. You kind of work your whole life. To be honest with you, there's probably happens maybe 1% of the coaches in the world that get a chance to be a graduate assistant at such a great place and then get a chance to come back as a full-time guy. So that just doesn't happen. So I'm truly blessed to have that opportunity. It's something I've worked hard for, and it happened to work out. So just extremely, extremely lucky with that.
Gary talked about one of the factors from hiring some guys he was familiar with was going to be accountability and trusting people. You guys who have worked together and have come here with him, how important do you think that will be as you get to know the players and get them to accept you?
I think it'll be a plus. I think it carries a little bit of credibility that I was here with Coach Alvarez, and obviously we know that obviously the effect he still has on these players. I read a lot of comments and things that were made when he took over to coach the last game, so I thought that gives me a little bit of credibility. Myself with Coach Andersen, those are 4 school together. We were at Northern Arizona together. We got hired one day apart from each other at Northern Arizona. We went from there. Then we were at Utah together, and then obviously at Utah State together. So we have had a chance to be together. So this is our 4 school combined right there. So yeah, we met. Like I said, he picked me up at the airport the day I left here. Brad Childress, who was the former offensive coordinator here, got me the job at Northern Arizona, and the person who picked me up at the airport was Gary Andersen. And so that's how the friendship began, and so we've been through a lot together. And just knowing each other and what someone wants and how it works will be a big plus for us.
So it was a pretty easy call for you to come with Gary?
Oh yeah, that was an easy call. Yeah, that wasn't an issue whatsoever. So sometimes there's always some opportunities out there here or there, right there. But it was one of those. As the process was going on, obviously I was very excited about the opportunity to get a chance to come back here and knew how great it was. Obviously the things about it, and there's a 1,000 things you can stem out to what makes it so great, but the thing that was the number one for me was just the people, and that's across the board. So that's your fans, that's the students, that's the administration, how people care, at the University of Wisconsin. So that was outstanding for us.
Gary said you're a guy, because he knows you so well, he can lean on obviously on the staff, and sometimes it's a contrary opinion that you may not be afraid to share. Is that part of your role, do you think, on the staff?
I think it's part of my role. I think, I know I'm comfortable enough to be able to go into his office and make a suggestion and know that whichever way it goes, it's not going to affect a relationship when you've been together for 20 years. So that's a plus. It's not like, where's this guy coming from? He does, that. So that's a plus for us. Obviously he's the head coach. I'm very respectful of that with the decision things he has to make. But I do think it's a plus. I've had a chance to be, at a BCS school before I coached the University of GA at Nebraska. I was a full-time coach at the University of Nebraska with a former great from here, Coach Callahan. So I've had a chance to be around some things that direction right there. But he knows exactly what he wants to get done. But I think that being around it and being able to have a real, the thing that happens as you get older in your profession is you don't make emotional decisions. And I think that's one thing that I was probably poor at, when I was 22, that I'm a lot different at now, to be able to think through some things, talk through it, and let's make the best decision. So I think that is something that he does lean for in that area.
In working with the players, how would you describe your coaching style? What are they going to see, hear from you, and what you'll bring to the table?
Well, a lot of energy. I said that's the one thing, and that's Coach Aaron. There's no one here that doesn't have a lot of energy, because Coach Andersen wouldn't hire him if they didn't have that. An expertise level of all I've ever coached really in my life is defensive backs. So I pride myself in how much they know, not what I know, and the level of teaching that you can get to in those areas. It's kind of the same thing. I want to see. It was the last thing I said to the Utah State safeties and DBs before we played Wisconsin here was I want to get guys to perform at their highest level on the biggest stage, and so that's something that we'll strive to be able to do. And with myself, is I want consistency. I look for it from myself, and they'll look for the same way. Not having those ups and downs. We've all been part of that at some point in time in leadership where you didn't know it was going to happen from day to day. So to be as consistent as possible, make things really hard during practice so it's easier on game day is kind of my philosophy.
That seems.
How will you and Ben split up the secondary?
We'll do some things together like that, but for the most part, Ben will be with the corners. I'll be with the safeties. We'll do a lot of things together, install-wise, and different things that way. So that'll be a big plus. Nothing that Coach Strickland hasn't already done. He'll do a great job. He's done a great job. So we're not idiots right there. We're looking at the team. I thought, they're 3-time Big Ten champions. That's the facts. And so they've done a lot of really good things right there. And obviously the league's always getting better, and so we're always trying to get better. We'll try to get better better from whatever the best team of Wisconsin's ever been. We'll try to get a better one if we can through recruiting and through teaching and through coaching. And that's what anyone would expect in the program.
Every of the other coaches that have come in here have gotten to start out by talking about all the things they have coming back, all the players, the experience. Yours seems to be the one position that has the most turnover that looks like it's going to happen. How big, how different, unique a challenge is that for you?
Well, if I had my choice, I'd like to have 4 great starters back. Absolutely, if I had my choice. But we don't have that. But at the same time, I know we have a lot of really good talent. And also, there's sometimes, I've been through some situations, been interesting at that. I've had guys, you know, to be honest with you, at Northern Arizona that were going to be kind of moving on their way, couldn't play, couldn't make it, came in, fresh start, changed positions, and ended up being a starter for us and played 7 years in the NFL. You know, so sometimes a fresh new face coming in can also enlighten some guys that will mature from the time where they were a year ago to where they are when they get to us now, and then some opportunities. So I've spoken with everyone on the phone. We'll have a meeting with them when they get here, and then I'll have a sit-down meeting with them just to start with them as far as just to get to know them better, and then we'll start football as we get to go from there. But like I said, I know we have a lot of great talent, so we're super excited about that. We have some very good players coming in, and we're going to try to get a few more. The same thing we've always talked about. We're always trying to upgrade every year at every position, so that's our focus there too. But also in college, right there's no free agency. So the guys that we have and the guys that we've signed that are coming in, they're our guys, and so that's what we want to be able to get those guys developed.
What was it about Gary that you guys hit it off so well in Northern Arizona early on?
He had more food at his house. So I was at his house literally every night. You know, his twins are graduated from high school now, and they couldn't talk when we first met, type of thing. But we lived very close to each other right there. So I think where it hit off, to be honest with you, was that every morning you kind of came in on your own time. It was awesome at that, but we were always the first 2 guys in the office, and that's not bragging. I'm just saying we were always in the office early, so we would be together. We'd get coffee at the same place or whatever like that, and so we'd be talking football and some different things at that time right there. And he was a D-line coach, and I was a back-end guy, so we were on opposite ends of the spectrum. So we were always talking football in that area right there. And then just personality-wise, we hit off. We had a tremendous staff, you know, right there, so it was a really good bunch of guys. And so we were just together socially a lot during that time, and so that's kind of how it kind of played out through there. And then, like I said, I got hired at the University of Utah. I went from NAU to New Mexico State. From there, I got hired at the University of Utah, and that's because Coach Andersen was at Utah. He recommended that they bring me to Utah, and I wouldn't have gotten the job at Utah if it wasn't for him. So that's how it went there. We parted ways again, then came back together again, and then also we're back together for here again like that for what we hope is our longest run, obviously, together at one place.
So is Gary ready for this challenge at this point in his career?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's that, and just to be arrogant enough to think that there's not things out there or challenges or things that maybe they've not been foreseen right there. That could always come up right there, but the biggest thing that everyone will see from him is, I just got done having an academic myself, that is that we have a plan. It's not one of those deals like that, well, that sounds good. We have an exact plan. Now, it has to be tweaked a little bit for different areas, for different things, recruiting areas, and little different stuff that's different, because, you know, we were big in some areas, like even myself on being West Coast, that won't be our big area for us. So we'll have some tweaks in it, but we have a set plan. Someone asks us about, how do you guys handle this in the weight room? That's how it's done. How about discipline? It's done. Everyone knows. Everyone has exactly what's going to happen right there. How do Friday nights work before the game? It's already done. You know, what do we do? How we meet? And we meet in the mornings, afternoons? Done. So all those things are already been mapped out, time tested through all of our time together right there. So that part that puts you in position to be ready to take over a program like this.
Is it mapped out to the point of a manual that you give the players?
He'll have a player manual. He'll meet with them on the 20s, whatever it is, when they get back that Tuesday after Martin Luther King Day, that they'll go over that information right there. But we know it in our minds, like that, and same thing like that. So it's not one of those deals where, well, someone missed a class. Well, make sure and tell them not to do that. No, here's the plan. Yeah. Here's what you do. Here's how it works out. So everything is, again, the biggest thing is it's time tested. We know exactly what it takes to win. We know what it's going to take on the football field to win, how to be good football, how to handle the off the field stuff, how to be out in the community, all those things here. Where we have the plus side is we have so many more available administrators that can help us with facilitating getting to where we have to get to or do what we have to be able to get done. We just have more manpower, which is outstanding.
You mentioned recruiting. What areas
will you recruit, or what are your ties?
We're not
primarily?
always set with that right now. I'd imagine, I know I'm going to be some part of Florida, I believe right now at that, but everything's not completely mapped out. Part of that is because we have some guys who are recruiting right now, but for the most part, obviously I can't comment on who we're recruiting, but we do have, a great bunch of guys already committed to us, and that our job right now is to keep those guys committed, and that's going very well with us right now. So it'll be a lot more in depth, a lot more changes when we get out in the spring and doing those things.
So what was the most memorable thing from your 2 years as a GA here?
I'm trying to think that there's a lot of funny things that happened right there. That was good like that.
We'll
But
take funny.
the most memorable probably for me, because I always said, is that I had a chance to work for Coach Osborne and Coach Alvarez, which is outstanding guys right there in their profession. Hall of Famers, type of people right there. Had a chance to work for Urban Meyer at Utah, also like that. So I've been around a lot of really good coaches, but I've always said I'm way more of a Barry Alvarez guy than anybody as far as how I approach the game, how I thought he did things right there. And I think the thing that stood out was, again, his exact plan, and the most memorable stuff is how he always had the best pulse for the team. He knew when to hug them, he knew when to kick them in the ass, he knew when to do that, and no one could present to the team better. And I'm not talking rah-rah pregame speech stuff. I'm talking about how we're gonna attack, what we're gonna do, and it was very clear it was his team, it was his staff, and then how things worked out. So the most memorable part about that was having the opportunity to coach for him, because there's no one that I've followed. Or I guess like that I always say, imitation is the biggest form of flattery. So I imitated him as much as I could as far as preparing. I'm not him, but obviously things in my mind how I went about doing things.
You mentioned you worked with Urban. Gary worked with Urban that 1 year when he was still at Utah.
Yeah.
Urban at Ohio State now. Obviously, they're off probation next year. What's this program got to do to compete with them year in and year out? If the divisions stay the way they are, but in the league? Sure.
Yeah. Obviously, that's one of those programs that when you look at it in the Big Ten forever has been a dominant team. You look at certain teams that have been dominant right there. They're one of those right there. And the way you compete with them right there is have your exact plan. We know we want to do offense, defense, so that'll take care of itself. And then the way you compete is either get better or you get worse is one way, and that's recruiting. There's nothing more important than recruiting. We talked about today. You got to do it every single day, and so you have to be able to compete. You got to be able to get players that can match up with their players. Now you can screw up good players, or you can also have some guys that have talent that aren't great football players or don't have the same chemistry like that. And like Coach talked about, is that right now, there's really no chemistry on this team. There's no chemistry on any team in the country. That takes place. The team we came off of last year was a great chemistry team. I mean, those guys just really thought they didn't flinch on anything that they walked into, and that was a lot of we installed some of it, and a lot of the kids just took ownership and did some things that way. But there's never anything more in your program. If you ever make errors and someone ever says what went wrong, for the most part something went wrong in recruiting. That's usually where it really came out. You really wasn't like if we just would have bench pressed one more Thursday somewhere in there, we would have been fine. It's somewhere it's an error in that area at that. So we're going to try to upgrade that, and then again take the guys you have and how well can you develop them. Bum Phillips was huge on his, make good players great and great players super. I mean, you got to be able to raise whatever level. I always talk to the safeties. Why was Ronnie Lauder? Why are these guys so good? Well, super talented, super tough, but they're also the film guys. They're also the guys that are not in trouble in society. All the little things. That's how you become a great team and a great player. Is that just take what you have and then build to go up one notch in every phase that you do. So we're going to hit the heck out of that. That's for sure. Who's ever back and who's ever great. We had a lot of great players coming back. Well, they better be better next year than what those guys did this year. So we have to develop that within them.
What do you think of this staff? I know it's early in the process, but just initial impressions of what Gary was able to put together?
Yeah, I think it's just outstanding. It's kind of an all-star staff because I know a lot of them. Right. So I know the decisions that he made, and I've been with him personally on several of them right there. I've not worked with Jay Boulware, but I'm a huge fan of his because of what he's done special teams. We've actually coached against each other in previous things right there. So I know what he does very good like that. So outstanding. I know he's a great person. So that was something that really fired me up too. Mm-hmm. But everyone else that I know, and the part thing I know is that they're all communicators. They all can be out in the public. They all can relate to their players and to great contact. They can do a great job with that area. So that part excites me right there. And when you get to a place like this, I've always talked about this. I remember having this conversation on an airplane with Urban Meyer once and talking about what was key. And I go, you got to have 9. I said you got to have 9, and the 9 have to be able to do it all. They can't. Back in the day, sometimes you got guys. He's a great coach. He's not so much a recruiter. He can really recruit, not so much coach. He can really boy, he can go out and in the public and speak and do awesome, but that's not his other deal. That doesn't happen anymore. When you get to a place like this, you have to have 9 that can do it all. And they got to be able to go out and say, did you recruit guys? Yeah. Can you, are you a really good coach? Yeah. Can you, everything you got to be able to do? Are you on top of your players? You know exactly what tests they're taking right now. What's their GPA? What are they doing? All those things are what really jumps out at you. So you got to have 9 guys that can do that. And that's the one thing I'll promise that Coach Andersen will have is 9 guys that can do every phase of it right there. And then they're constantly trying to develop themselves. I did a lot of it this last week. All the coaches have done it right there. Is that no one's got all the answers. No one's completely done. And so your profession's the same. You better find out what somebody else. Find one guy that knows one thing more than what you do, and figure out how you can incorporate it into your part of your deal.
So you were just calling guys around just to?
No, I met with some guys.
Okay.
I had to stop by the convention. The first thing we
okay.
did was we got in a room with a bunch of guys that I know and sat down and talk football.
Okay.
Hey, that's what you're doing. That's good. And then we're talking about guys, hey, let's get these 6 guys together in March and see if we can't sit down and try to figure out some ways to stop these people, because right now it's annoying to be on defense because offenses are doing everything. So figure it out.
You mentioned Jay. He talked sheepishly of the Auburn game a couple years ago, being responsible for 2 special teams plays to pull that victory off. He said.
Yeah, he did. They did a great job of it. At that. So they did a great job of that right there. And we didn't finish the drill up, and they did. Like that. We got a fake field goal on them for a touch for a big play, which was big for them. And they got the onside kick on us late, which hurt us right there. But I said that we played well in some big games at Utah State. We came in here and did a nice job, and we just got to make the field goal and do the things right there. We didn't get quite over the top, but you can tell if you ever watched our teams play, they play hard. They play really, really hard. So that's the one thing that'll move on. And as great as everything was at the last place we were at, we're here. We moved on. So that deal's over. They've moved on. We've moved on, and it was a great part of our lives. And now we're here at Wisconsin.
Do you expect